Okay, guys, let's put our hands together. Not for me, for sure, for Slack. Let's do it, guys, for doing an awesome job. Awesome job here for their first conference. Congrats to the whole Slack team. We are very happy at Google that Slack is doing a great job and our partnership is thriving. So again, great job, guys. Great job for the first conference, and I hope they do a lot more of these and keep inviting me. Hey, guys. So I'm Apoorv Saxena. I'm product manager of Cloud AI at Google, and I'm here to talk about intelligence at work. It's always fun to talk about AI in front of a developer audience. And I'm going to talk about, along with my colleague Rio, about how Google is using machine learning and AI internally, but also exposing some of the lessons we have learned in the form of tools as part of the Google Cloud Service machine learning services. So let's talk. Why do we care? Why is Google investing so heavily on cloud, in AI? And the reason is it ties right back into our mission. Google's mission is to organize world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And this applies to everybody, from the farmers in California all the way to small business owner in Kenya. As they are looking for information, Google is better able to serve them if we understand what they are looking for. What is the information, what is the image, what is the text behind that information? And this is where machine learning and AI comes in. So how do we at Google define AI? For a lot of people, AI is nothing but very complex pattern matching. At Google, we think it's beyond that. A lot of AI, sophisticated AI systems, are self-learning. They learn from previous interaction and improve over time. It starts with the user action, a user typing in a text on a search box or taking a photo on their camera. Next step is understanding what's behind that image, what's behind that text. Using that pre-trained or information learned previously, come up with a set of actions that are now fed back to the user in form of a response. And that based on the response, the user interacts again, and the loops continues. Just like Google search becomes better each time you interact with it, an AI system self-learns and improves over time. And this is why we are excited about AI. How excited are we? This chart shows how excited we are. This is the graph shows the number of deep learning projects within Google over the last 3 to 4 years. As you can see, the growth has been tremendous, exponential. Deep learning is now powering almost every product that Google makes. It's powering contextual, meaningful, enriching experience for our users. We, in fact, at Google believe AI is the next paradigm shift in computing, just like PC, internet, cloud, and mobile. Our CEO, Sundar Pichai, calls Google now an AI-first company. And as we build this complex deep learning systems internally, we learn 3 things. One, deep learning, and a lot of deep learning is computationally very intensive. Number 2, it requires a lot of managing data and how data is handled. And the third, it needs a very scalable platform. All of these we are bringing to developer as part of our Google Cloud machine learning services. And we'll talk about some of those on this talk. So let's talk about one of the more visible example of AI at work. How many of you use Google Photos on your mobile phone? Almost, I will say, half of you, and the other half is missing out. And the reason, let me tell you. Google Photos it was launched 2 years back in a very crowded mobile photo app market. It has become the most widely used mobile photo app that helps you organize your photos. And the reason it does such an amazing job is because of some of the AI underlying. For example, imagine you just came back from a trip to Alaska. You can imagine that for sure. And you visited this amazing glacial lake, and you want to share that photo with your friend. In normal circumstances, you probably have to browse through a ton of photos, hundreds or thousands of photos to get to that image. All you have to do now with Google Photos is type in glacial on the search box, and out comes this image of a glacier. And that's a very simple experience, powerful experience. There's a lot of sophistication behind that simplicity. For example, the image understanding that powers Google Photos image search has to understand that this image is not an object, or this object is not a snow-covered mountain, but actually a glacier. It is surrounded by blue lake, which is a glacial lake. And that kind of information doesn't come easily. If you are a developer trying to build some of the same powerful image understanding into your app, you can do that today with Google Cloud Vision API, because that's the same algorithm that is powering Google Photos. Let's take another example. Again, 1 billion people use a Google Translate on a monthly basis. If you are in a foreign country, this is probably a lifesaver. All you have to do on a mobile app on Google Translate, take a photo, and it helps you translate. Again, if you want to bring something like this into your app, there's a lot of things going on. There are 3 things going on more specifically in this example. There's image understanding. The image has to understand, the AI has to understand that this image has characters, convert those characters into text, use translate engine to translate that text into different language, and then all of this has to be done on a mobile phone, which might not be connected on the internet. So how you as a developer can do something like this? So we do provide the Google Cloud Vision API, as I said, for OCR. The second is translation API to do translation, and TensorFlow on mobile, which helps you take your algorithm and optimize it for a mobile platform. Take one more example in terms of natural language understanding. If you are a user of Gmail, and if you are using Gmail on the phone, and if you don't want to type, a lot of people do that, especially short responses, Smart Reply helps you generate responses based on the conversation context. Again, almost 10% of short responses on mobile are now powered by this auto-generated AI. But there's a lot of sophistication behind this. We have to design, the AI has to understand that this is not about what the conversation is about, but also understand the tone in which this conversation is about. If the tone is very formal, the choices the AI gives you are very informal. If the tone is very formal, it's the other way around. And over time, it even personalizes how you say hi or hello. And that's the level of complexity. If you want to bring all of this, again, you start off with the Cloud Natural Language API. But this is not all. We are doing a lot more. And to talk about some of the new and exciting stuff that is coming along, I will now hand it over to my colleague, Ryo Akasaka, to talk about some of the new announcements. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Apoorv. Hi, everyone. My name is Rio. I'm a product manager on Google Drive. And as you can see, we take artificial intelligence really seriously at Google. And it's really exciting to see all of you here, because that demonstrates your interest, and probably you're making develop apps today using AI. As you're aware, Google and Slack each are trying to propose solutions to do something intelligent, either in life or in the workplace. We think that this can transform the way we work. And as many of you may be aware, last December, we announced a deep integration between our 2 products. In that announcement, we announced and we said that smart software can bring teams together. I want to pick apart that smart software a bit in the context of what Apoorv just talked about in terms of AI and how we build for AI at Google. You might be familiar with this feature. It's a little bit hidden, but within Google Drive, it's called the activity stream. It's a chronicle of all the important events that have happened with the files that you own. People have maybe commented on the document. People may have shared those documents. People may have moved them around. And users really love it because they can keep track of what has changed. They can follow up on what they might have missed. But every user we talk to and showcase this feature says, this is great. You're showing me all the information that I could use to be productive, but it has a fatal flaw. It's just too much information. Right? How can you help me as an information worker or knowledge worker to decide and determine what the most important event is? Tell me that one thing, not 100. Over the course of the last year, we've actually tried to solve this with a feature that you might also be familiar with, called Quick Access. Now, this is really cool because what it does is it selects 4 or 5 documents we think you probably came to Google Drive to open. There's actually 2 AI models behind this feature. One to predict which document you came to Google to open, and another to give you the reason why you probably want to open that document. Think of it as the first, and the most important event that we can tell you. The AI models have a bunch of features. I can talk about 3 publicly. One is the fact that perhaps you open a document pretty regularly. So for example, you have a Monday morning meeting, you're probably likely to open that document every Monday, and it's probably a good reason why you probably want that document, the first thing to see on Drive. Second of all, you might have a document that's really popular. It's blowing up. Lots of people are commenting or sharing it. That's a good indicator that it's important. And last, we have a per-user model. We determine, OK, you probably have the specific properties of how you interact with documents. Perhaps, for example, I open documents that come from my manager almost immediately because I know it's probably something I should pay attention to. So those are just 3 features. You can imagine a whole host of other features that go into deciding which of these documents should be listed in such prime real estate. I'm sharing with you this mock to show how one of our future integrations with Slack will look like. So think of the use cases. I'm working in Slack. There's a lot of conversations happening on a document, right? Now I go back to Drive. I have no idea about what those active conversations are happening. I'm missing out. So what if we could solve that by showcasing in the same AI model which of the documents that are conversations are happening within Slack we should showcase using those same events within Slack. Let's go back to that announcement from December of last year. Because I think while I can talk to you about mocks about what we're building in the future, you're really interested in what we have on offer for you today. The other part of that statement that we shared last December was that work and conversations seamlessly should be available in one place. Now, this seems like a pretty straightforward phrase, but it actually is important to me because it demonstrates the fact that we don't want to create an integration that brings users to each of our own products. That would still be a valid integration. But we think the user needs to get the work that they need to be done in the place that they are at. Okay? And particularly, you know that Google, we value user experience and compelling user experiences. You heard Christina share that same sentiment yesterday as well. So we think we're in really good company here. So today, I'm excited to share with you a preview of what you heard in the keynote just earlier, that integration of the Drive notification within Slack. Now, a video always does a better job of explaining things, so I'm going to let a video roll. So thanks to our friends at Slack, we are currently rolling out to a small set of teams, and we'll be continuing to roll it out over the next couple of weeks. As part of a way to demonstrate why we think this is actually a super valuable integration to develop for, we shared a statistic last December that I thought was pretty astonishing. A Google Drive file is imported into Slack, if the calculation is correct, about once every 1.4 seconds, 60,000 times a day. I'm excited to share with you today that that number has almost increased fourfold. It's actually over fourfold. 250,000 Google Drive files are shared within Slack every single day. That's 250,000 opportunities to let users know when something important is happening on their documents. So the vision we started with this journey back in December was we want to be where our users are, and we want to make sure that they're fully productive wherever they may be. Drive is where the files are stored and shared. Slack is where the conversation happens. Right? And by the stats that we've just shared, it's a clearly demonstrated user need. So DriveBot is the first step in this direction. Now, DriveBot is the name I will use during this presentation. In fact, to the rest of the world, it's the Google Drive integration within Slack. It's a single app. Now, this is actually a crucial detail. Rather than letting users use the existing Drive integration and tack on a new bot, we're actually integrating that such that it is a seamless user experience. Now, it's a little bit easier for me during this presentation to, instead of saying the Google Drive integration within Slack, to refer to DriveBot. But by putting the user first, we've actually made it so that they can think of this as an expansion to the set of features that are currently available, like rich previews, permission sharing, and indexing within search. DriveBot supports 4 notification types. First, whenever there's a comment on a document that you care about, maybe you were mentioned, or a document that you own. Second, someone on your team isn't able to access the document that you've been working on and you wanted to share with them. Let's make that easy. Deliver those messages as DMs within Slack. Newly shared files. Hey, Salma, here's a document that I should share with you. Can you take a look? Right? And last but certainly not least, storage. We think that's a pretty integral part of the experience of using Google Drive. We want to make sure that if you're running out of storage, you know to take action. DriveBot is enterprise grade ready from day one. And this is important because we know many of you are considering the migration to enterprise grade or are already there. And the last thing you want to worry about is whether or not Google Drive can support your migration. DriveBot is built on top of GCP. Again, this is important for you who are developing apps because we took no shortcuts in developing this app. We didn't use internal technologies available to Google to build this bot. Right? The bot is built using Java on the App Engine. The mapping between users in Slack and Drive is stored on Cloud Data Store. And any SPII or sort of encryptable information is stored in Cloud KMS. Many of you are app developers, and I heard that the feedback was you wanted to know what are some of the learnings, what are some of the things that I learned over the course of the last 6 to 9 months that I can share with you, that you guys can take away in building your own. So I'll go briefly through 4 of them. First and foremost, Slack is a real-time communication app. That's a given, right? But notifications are not. Notifications can be intelligently bundled, they can be delayed. We've taken quite a bit of consideration to make sure that our notifications can be smart, but that can sometimes be too smart. When users expect real-time comments and information coming through within Slack, they can manage it on their own. Right? Slack's doing a really amazing job of trying to allow you to filter what's important and what's not. So we don't need to. So comment notifications come to you as soon as we know they're available. We had the tricky job of balancing the brand identity of Google with that of Slack. Slack has awesome user experience paradigms that we wanted to respect, but we wanted to also have that familiarity of working with a Google product. So these are very simple examples, and I think there's a lot of opportunity going forward. But for example, instead of calling it DriveBot, we retain that name of Google Drive, that familiarity. You don't have to think, oh, is this somehow related to Google? Not sure. It's Google Drive. But we inject that little bit of fun and that familiarity by using message attachment colors that respect the same logo colors that we have, the 4 notification types for the 4 colors. Now, what happens when we have more notification types? I don't have an answer for you quite yet. But the added benefit is that users now can actually differentiate fairly quickly between the notification types. Storage being red, particularly because if you're running out of storage, you won't be able to use Google Drive. Thirdly, here's an interesting insight that I think it took me a little while to understand. But notifications that you get through email or devices don't really expect you to respond. Maybe you can take a quick action. Maybe you can swipe it away. But there's no expectation of being able to say, hey, I want to do something to this. I want to reply to this. Bots give us that affordance. And we're still in the early stages here. But for now, what we're doing is providing the controls within Slack to manage your Drive settings. This is important. It's not managing Slack settings. It's managing the same settings that we reflect within the Drive UI using simple replies like on, off. And ideally, if you can provide feedback, that would be also fantastic. Last but certainly not least, this harkens back to the stuff that Christina talked about yesterday. Put the user first, right? We have a bunch of interactions that we think are important for the user to know about. Why not make them easier? What's the easiest thing we can do? Again, this is a fairly simple and straightforward demonstration, but the features around granting access doesn't require you to go to Google Drive to actually grant access to that document for your teammate. You can do it within a message action within that DM. So we've talked about the demonstrated user need. We've talked about the technology available to make the workplace more productive. And we've talked about the design considerations that make these interactions as seamless as possible. That's why DriveBot, in my mind, is the first step towards that intelligent and collaborative workspace with the future in mind of the things that I shared with you earlier. Now, this is the beginning of the Google and Slack story. As developers, you're eager to develop the same sort of magical user experiences as well. So I'm going to wrap things up by talking about some of the tools that Apoorv just mentioned that you have at your fingertips, depending on your comfort level and your familiarity. Hopefully, GCP as a platform to build upon is a fairly straightforward requirement. Here are the other things that you can do with artificial intelligence. If you're a researcher, someone who really wants to get into the weeds and build exciting, intelligent models based on things that we don't even know we need yet, TensorFlow is a solution for you. If you're a data scientist with a model, but you struggle with the ability to train against large amounts of data to determine true or false positives, MLE, machine learning engine, is your solution. If you're an app developer, and I'm like coding on my own on the weekends as well, and you don't really want to deal with either a model or a training set, you can use these pre-packaged offerings in terms of APIs for speech, translation, vision, and NLP. Build the same sort of things that we've done with photos and Translate. To wrap things up, why I'm particularly sort of excited, I'm generally an optimistic kind of guy, but why I'm excited about this integration is because it demonstrates that we have actually taken heed of our own advice that we typically give to our developers. Right? We're working with large amounts of data, and you should too. We're trying to incorporate intelligence in our product. We're starting simple with notifications and expanding further. And we're also taking advantage of each of our open platforms and ecosystems to build something that is truly greater than the sum of its parts. This is one way we've used Slack to build something exciting. We'll hope that you'll use this as an example of building exciting new things over the next coming months and weeks. Thank you. I do believe we have a little bit of time for a Q&A, so Apoorv, if you can come back, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I know we stand between you and lunch, but I'm excited about any questions that you have. I think there's a mic going around. Cool. Raise your hands, yeah.
Okay, hello everybody. I have a question regarding the conversation.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Hello. I have a question whether you could share a little bit of the long-term vision for the integration from Slack to the Drive itself. So, for example, you show us someone creates and shares a new file, and someone would like to comment on it from within the Slack, within a thread, or maybe do further interactions. Is there a plan to get something like this in the pipeline?
So the question was, like, what are our future plans for integrations, and what are the richer interactions that we think we can deliver? The number one feedback is the desire to be able to comment by replying to the messages that we send. We think that's a really important feature. I can't comment on timelines, unfortunately, but that is something that we're actively considering. There's actually a bunch of things in the integration timeline that you can actually look at the blog post to see in the future of what we're building. Specifically, the next stages of that integration are delivering a magical experience within Drive using Slack data, and actually putting all of this together using what we have on Google called Team Drives. Now, Team Drives is a construct of where teams can store files within Drive, and we think Slack and channels and teams within Slack are a very good parallel to that. So expect integrations that really bring this to the next level, where the team concept on Slack really starts being exposed within Drive, and vice versa. It's a little bit hard to say why, how an integration works from the Slack side, because it really does have to be on both. But expect more news about that comment feature very soon. Thanks.
Thank you. I actually had a question regarding the seamless authentication. I use a Slack with my Slack account, and then I call the Drive bot, just to get notified on some events on a file. Does the bot require my Google account, and how does it know who I am? So in your example, someone granted access to Sarah, but that was Sarah's Slack account. How does it know which Google account is it for Sarah? If you can just elaborate on that a little bit.
Absolutely. The method with which we know who is a user on Slack and on Google is by actually requiring you to authenticate to both. So you might be already familiar with the integration that we have today, for which you go from Slack, you copy and paste the Drive link, you click on Slackbot saying, hey, do you want to get rich previews, permissioning, and indexing? You click yes, it authenticates with Google. Now this bot will actually do the same by asking you to authenticate Google to have access to Slack. Right? And there we have that mapping between the user on Slack and Drive. And then we send those messages as DMs. We don't send them to a channel. Yeah. Any questions?
Yep. If there are no more questions, we are at the booth.
Yep.
So please come and join us if you have more questions on Google booth, and we'll love to answer your questions there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye.